Watch someone who desperately wants respect walk into a room, and you will see a performance so transparent that everyone recognizes it except the person performing it. The chest pushed slightly forward, the voice calibrated to project authority it has not earned, the opinions delivered with a certainty that is manufactured rather than felt, the name-dropping and the credential flashing, and the subtle but unmistakable effort to position themselves above the people around them, through signals that are designed to communicate importance, but that actually communicate the opposite. Desperation, hunger. The specific, unmistakable, almost pitiable energy of a person who needs something from the room that they have not been able to generate from within. You have seen this person. You have felt the particular discomfort of being in their presence. The discomfort that comes not from being intimidated by their authority, but from being embarrassed by their need for it. From sensing the gap between the confidence they are performing and the insecurity that is driving the performance. From knowing, at a level that is deeper than conscious thought, that the person standing in front of you demanding to be taken seriously is the person you are least likely to take seriously. Not because they lack qualities worth respecting. They may have many such qualities, but because the demand itself, the visible, palpable, energetically unmistakable demand for respect, is the single most effective respect-destroying behavior a human being can engage in, and they do not know this. That is the tragedy. They genuinely believe that the performance is working, that the signals are landing, that the room is being persuaded by the display of importance they have so carefully constructed, and they are wrong. The room sees through it. The room always sees through it. Because human beings are equipped with social perception systems that are millions of years old and that are specifically, exquisitely, almost supernaturally calibrated to detect the difference between genuine authority and performed authority, between real confidence and manufactured confidence, between the person who is important and the person who needs you to think they are important. These detection systems are not conscious. They do not operate through deliberate analysis. They operate through feeling, through the subtle, pre-verbal, body-level sense of something being off, something not quite right, something that looks like confidence but feels like need. And when these systems detect the performance, when they identify the gap between the display and the reality, they do not produce respect. They produce the specific, quiet, almost involuntary withdrawal of respect that is the social immune system's response to inauthenticity. Now watch someone who is genuinely respected walk into the same room and notice the difference. Not in what they do, but in what they do not do. They do not push their chest forward. They do not calibrate their voice. They do not drop names or flash credentials or position themselves above anyone. They do not perform anything at all. They simply enter. They simply exist in the space. They simply bring whatever quality of presence they carry with them everywhere. The quality that was not constructed for this room, but that is part of who they are in every room. And they let that presence do whatever it does without monitoring it, managing it, or directing it toward any particular outcome. They are not trying to be respected. They are not thinking about respect. Respect is not on their agenda. It is not in their field of awareness. It is not a category through which they are processing the interaction. They are processing the interaction through a completely different set of categories. Categories like what is actually happening here. What do these people genuinely need? What is true about this situation? What can I contribute that has genuine value? Notice the direction of attention. The person seeking respect has their attention directed inward, toward themselves, toward how they are being perceived, toward the question of whether the room is giving them what they need. The person who is genuinely respected has their attention directed outward, toward the room, toward the people, toward the situation, toward the question of what is actually happening and how they can genuinely contribute to it. And this difference in the direction of attention, this seemingly small distinction between self-focused and situation-focused engagement, is the mechanism that produces the paradox we are exploring. The paradox that the person who seeks respect does not get it, and the person who does not seek it does. Seneca identified this paradox with characteristic directness. He observed that the things most worth having are the things that cannot be directly pursued. that the person who chases happiness does not find it, that the person who demands love does not receive it, that the person who grasps at meaning does not discover it. These things, happiness, love, meaning, respect, are what he called byproducts. They are the natural, organic, inevitable consequences of a particular way of living. But they cannot be extracted from that way of living and pursued independently. You cannot pursue happiness as a goal and achieve it. You can only live in a way that produces happiness as a natural consequence. You cannot demand love as a right and receive it. You can only be a person whose way of being in the world naturally generates love, and you cannot seek respect as an objective and obtain it. You can only develop the qualities that respect is a natural response to, and then let the respect arrive on its own schedule, in its own form, without your involvement in the process. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, and respect operates by the same principle." True respect is to embody genuine quality without anxious dependence upon recognition. The moment you become anxious about whether the respect is coming, the moment you start monitoring the room for signs of its arrival, the moment you begin adjusting your behavior to increase the likelihood of receiving it, you have left the state that produces it. You have shifted from embodiment to performance, from quality to display, from being to seeming, and respect, which responds to being and not to seeming, withdraws. Marcus Aurelius practiced this principle so consistently and so naturally that it became invisible to him. He did not think of himself as someone who was earning respect through his behavior. He thought of himself as someone who was trying to live correctly, trying to make good decisions, trying to be honest with himself about his weaknesses and disciplined with himself about his duties. Trying, in the language of his own philosophy, to live in accordance with nature. And the respect that this way of living generated, the deep, durable, historically unprecedented respect that Marcus Aurelius continues to command 2,000 years after his death, was never something he pursued. It was something that pursued him, that found him, that attached itself to him as the natural, inevitable, completely unsought consequence of a life lived with genuine integrity. He wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless it contributes to the common good. For you lose the opportunity of doing something else when you are diverted by such thoughts, as what is so-and-so doing and why, what is he saying or thinking or scheming." And notice what Marcus is describing here. He is describing the practice of not monitoring, not tracking how he is being perceived, not speculating about what others think of him, not directing his attention toward the question of whether he is being respected. He is deliberately, consciously, as a matter of philosophical practice, directing his attention away from the question of how he is being received and toward the question of what he is genuinely contributing. And this redirection, this deliberate turning of attention from self to situation, from reception to contribution, from how am I being perceived to what can I genuinely offer, is the specific mechanism by which genuine respect is generated. Not through the pursuit of respect, but through the pursuit of genuine contribution. Not through the management of perception, but through the management of quality. Not through the performance of importance, but through the practice of genuine usefulness. Epictetus took this principle even further. He made the provocative claim that the desire for respect is itself a form of slavery. He said, if you wish to be free, do not desire anything that depends on others. And respect depends on others, completely, absolutely, without exception. You cannot make someone respect you. You cannot force respect. You cannot engineer it. You cannot guarantee it through any behavior, any achievement, any display, any performance. Respect is given freely by others, or it is not given at all. And the person who desires it, who organizes their behavior around obtaining it, who makes decisions based on what will generate respect rather than on what is genuinely right, has made themselves dependent on something they cannot control, has surrendered their autonomy to the opinions of others, has become, in the precise Stoic meaning of the word, a slave, not to a master, but to a desire, to the desire for something that is not up to them. And the cruelest dimension of this slavery is that it is self-defeating. The more desperately you want respect, the more transparent your desperation becomes, and the more transparent your desperation, the less respect you receive. And the less respect you receive, the more desperately you want it. This is the cycle, the trap, the self-reinforcing spiral that the desire for respect creates, and the only way out of the spiral is the counterintuitive, almost paradoxical move of releasing the desire entirely, not suppressing it, not pretending you do not care, but genuinely, through the sustained practice of philosophical self-examination, releasing the attachment to an outcome that was never within your control, and discovering on the other side of that release that the outcome arrives anyway. Not because you pursued it, but because you stopped pursuing it. And the quality of presence that the non-pursuit creates is precisely the quality that respect naturally responds to. Let me take you now into the specific qualities that generate genuine respect. Because understanding what respect responds to is essential for anyone who wants to stop seeking it and start embodying it. And the qualities are not what most people expect. They are not loudness. They are not dominance. They are not the visible markers of success or status or power that most people associate with respected individuals. The qualities that generate genuine respect are quieter than that, deeper than that, more fundamentally human than that. The first quality is consistency. Not consistency in the superficial sense of always doing the same thing, but consistency in the deeper sense of being the same person, regardless of the audience. The person who is the same in private as they are in public, the same with the janitor as they are with the CEO, the same when things are going well as when things are falling apart, the same when people are watching as when nobody is watching. This consistency, this deep, structural, characterological sameness across different contexts and different circumstances is one of the most powerful respect-generating qualities a human being can possess, because it communicates something that no performance can communicate. It communicates that who you are is not a strategy, not an adaptation, not a calibrated response to the demands of a specific audience. It is just you. Genuine, stable, reliable. And people respond to this reliability with respect, because reliability means safety. The person who is consistent is the person who can be predicted, and the person who can be predicted is the person who can be trusted. And trust is the foundation of respect. The second quality is competence without display. The person who is genuinely good at something and who does not need the world to know they are good at it. The surgeon who does not discuss her success rate at dinner parties. The engineer who does not mention his patents in casual conversation. The writer who does not bring up her awards when meeting new people. The person whose competence is evident in their work, in their decisions, in the quality of their contribution, but who never, ever calls attention to it themselves. This quality, this quiet, undisplayed, self-evident competence, generates a specific kind of respect that displayed competence can never match. Because displayed competence, however impressive, always carries a trace of neediness, a trace of look at me, a trace of the child who did something clever and is running to the parent for applause. But undisplayed competence carries no trace of need. It is simply there, available for anyone who cares to notice it, but not performing for anyone's attention. And this absence of performance, this quiet confidence in one's own capability that does not require external confirmation, is deeply, instinctively, almost magnetically respected. The third quality is genuine interest in others. Not the performed interest of the networker who asks about your life so that they can steer the conversation toward their own. Not the strategic interest of the manipulator who listens carefully in order to identify your vulnerabilities. But the genuine, unstrategic, authentically curious interest of a person who finds other human beings genuinely fascinating, who listens not to respond but to understand, who asks questions not to impress but to learn, who gives their attention not as an investment expecting returns, but as a gift that requires no receipt. This quality, this genuine interest in others, generates respect through a mechanism that is both simple and profound. It makes people feel seen, valued, important. Not in the flattering, ego-stroking way of the person who compliments strategically, but in the deep, authentic, genuinely nourishing way of the person who is actually paying attention to who you are rather than who you can be for them. And a person who makes others feel genuinely seen is a person who is genuinely respected, not because they sought respect, but because they gave something more valuable than respect. They gave attention, and real attention, in a world starving for it, is one of the most respected gifts a person can give. The fourth quality is the willingness to be wrong. This sounds counterintuitive. You might expect that the most respected people are the ones who are always right, the ones who never make mistakes, the ones whose judgment is infallible and whose decisions are always vindicated. But the opposite is true. The most respected people are the ones who can be wrong gracefully, who can acknowledge mistakes without being destroyed by them, who can say, "I was wrong," without it being a crisis of identity, who can receive correction without defensiveness, learn from failure without shame, and change their mind when the evidence warrants it without experiencing the change as a defeat. Because the willingness to be wrong requires something that the performance of always being right cannot provide. It requires security, genuine, deep, internally generated security that does not depend on being right in order to remain intact. And this security, this ability to maintain your sense of self even when your position has been proven wrong, is profoundly respected, because it signals something about the person's relationship with truth that is more important than being right about any particular question. It signals that they are committed to truth itself, not to their version of truth, not to being seen as the one who has the truth, but to truth as an ongoing process of inquiry and correction and refinement that sometimes requires the humility to admit that you were wrong. Aristotle described the quality that ties all of these specific traits together with a single concept: magnanimity, greatness of soul, the settled, stable, deeply grounded quality of a person who knows their own worth without needing to advertise it, who carries genuine capability without needing to display it, who engages with others from a place of genuine interest rather than strategic calculation, who can be wrong without being diminished because their sense of self is not built on being right. This person, the magnanimous person, does not seek respect because they do not need it. Their sense of their own worth is internally generated and internally maintained. It does not fluctuate with external feedback. It does not rise when praised or fall when criticized. It simply is, stable, quiet, deeply rooted in the bedrock of genuine self-knowledge. And this stability, this quiet, undemanding, deeply grounded sense of self-worth is the quality that respect responds to most powerfully and most durably. Not because it performs anything worth respecting, but because it embodies something worth respecting. The genuine, unperformed, deeply human quality of being complete in yourself, of being enough without confirmation, of being valuable without advertisement, of being in the simplest and most profound sense real. Stop seeking respect. Not because respect does not matter. It does, because the seeking is the obstacle. The pursuit is the barrier. The desire is the very thing that prevents the desired outcome from arriving. Instead of seeking respect, seek the qualities that respect naturally responds to. Seek consistency. Seek quiet competence. Seek genuine interest in others. Seek the courage to be wrong. Seek the deep, internally generated, non-dependent sense of your own worth that makes the pursuit of external validation unnecessary. And then watch what happens. Watch how the respect that you chased for years and never caught begins to arrive without being invited, without being pursued, without being managed or monitored or anxiously tracked. It arrives because you stopped trying to generate it and started simply being the kind of person that it gravitates toward. Not because you designed yourself for that purpose, but because you stopped designing yourself at all and let the genuine version, the unperformed version, the version that was always there beneath the display, finally step into the light. And the light, it turns out, was always waiting for exactly that version. The real one, the quiet one, the one that never sought respect, and therefore earned it. If this dissolved something in you that was trying too hard, if it released a tension you did not know you were carrying, then you felt what it is like to stop performing. Subscribe to this channel because every conversation here is designed to bring you closer to the version of yourself that does not need to perform. The version the world has been waiting for. The version that respect was always meant for. I will see you in the next one.